not a bad thing we have to record again, because last time I remember I'd had another podcast before we started recording, which had kind of gone not off the rails, but we ended up going for like 2.5 hours and we started drinking. So by the time I came on here, I was on the wine.
You were a
little tipsy.
Yeah, I mean, wine, it can get you swimming. Or me at least, red wine.
Yeah, it's lethal. It's the only thing that ever gives me a hangover as well.
Same. Or, I mean, I love it. I love it so much, but even if I have a little bit, I get
a little bit of a headache.
I have the most wretched hangover.
Yeah.
It's like its own thing, which sometimes can be nice. I feel like it's like not a beer or liquor hangover. It's just everything's a little gray.
Yeah, it hits you. How far is Boston from LA?
3,000 miles.
Whoa. So how did you get back from LA? Like, how did you travel? You flew.
Yeah. And then I got vaccinated right when I got home.
Oh, perfect.
Just like, they're raffling them off around here, the extras. So I just got in and I got hit literally an hour after I got home.
How does that work? That they're going out of date or something, so they're just trying to get rid of them?
Yeah. They have cancellations. They have ones that are going bad, and essentially within a certain group, then you can just refresh the page till you get a spot. So
wow.
But it was crazy. It was like, it was a red eye, so I hadn't slept for 48 hours, and then I get the vax hit, so then I feel sick, and it was my birthday, and I hadn't eaten anything because I wasn't going to eat in the airport. And then I had 2 drinks, and I was just like so drunk and so delirious, and couldn't differentiate if it was the sleep deprivation or the shot or the alcohol.
It's a real cocktail of emotions going on there.
Yeah, it was something.
So is it one flight from Boston to LA, or do you have to do a couple?
It was just one.
Just one.
Straight shot.
What do you do when you're on the plane? What's your kind of form of go-to entertainment when you're traveling?
I just I watch 3. Well, I mean, I watched kind of good movies this time, but usually I make a point to watch like 3 pretty bad movies in a row. I can't sleep. I can't do it. I wish I could, but even if we're flying to Europe, I will watch movies until we are there.
I mean, especially if you've got a mask on. Like
Yeah. 2 masks. But what I watched this time, I watched Uncut Gems.
Great.
And I watched Shawshank Redemption, and I watched, which I'd never seen. It was just like, so such a classic like 90s blockbuster in so many ways. And then I watched The Lighthouse, which was fun.
That's a good trio.
Yeah, it really was. I was surprised. Usually, I mean, I kind of love that, like, there's only kind of crappy movies on airplanes, Yeah. You just like can watch your bubblegum and it's fun. But that was nice too. I mean Uncut Gems, it also, it's chaotic. In a chaotic time, it felt like it suited what is flying in COVID.
Yeah. Was it busy, or was the plane pretty dead?
No, it was busy, and there was this guy in front of me who kept taking his mask off, and I was just like, what do you do? Yeah.
There's always one.
But it was fine. I didn't get COVID, so.
And then you got vaccinated.
Yeah, I know.
Can traveling prompt creativity?
Honestly, that was the first time I've traveled in that sort of way where I'm flying to a destination that wasn't band related. Kind of the first time ever where I just went somewhere on my own, and so that was really inspiring. But definitely, but at the same time, I don't really, I think I collect things and just take a lot in, but I'm not someone who can write on the road in a here's a song kind of way, but you just see things happen that wouldn't happen if you're in your house. So I would say yes.
What images stick out to you from LA then when you think back to that trip? What are the kind of postcard images that come to mind?
This one I was in Topanga, and Topanga's really kind of quiet and pretty and hippy dippy, and I wasn't in the city quite as much, but my previous impressions, I always felt like the city was somewhat evil. Even though I love it there, but it just like there's this darkness sort of in everything, the first time we played there, it immediately clicked why so many cults started there, because there's just a lot of like very lost people or people that are searching for an identity or like a sense of self.
Yeah, the city of broken dreams.
And there's like a palpable desperation there, or like a lot of people are there because they want to become something.
I like that phrase, palpable desperation.
Yeah. Well, man, I like had this crazy experience where like I went out with a friend to a party, and it was all of these like this really weird party. It was like all of these models from all over. It was like a model house, which is like a house for all the models. I was talking to this Irish guy who just got there, and he was like 19, and he was like, I've never modeled before, and they told me to come here, and I don't know if I'm going to work. I don't know when I'm going to work. And it was just this, I didn't know how I ended up there. He just like his terror just rubbed off on me. And then I left that party because it was making me feel strange. Basically everyone I knew in town had gone to bed, and no one was answering their phone, and my phone was dying. It was at 5% or something. And so I just started walking into downtown LA, which is like rough, like not the place you want
to put you in. What time are we talking? Like 3 a.m. or something?
3 a.m. And I'm just like, okay, I can't find anybody. I'm just going to get a motel. And every single motel I went to had no vacancy. And it's getting later and later. Yeah, I was just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. I don't know what's going to happen. And then serendipitously, an old friend of mine just happened to be in town and like called me at 3 a.m. and was like, what's up? And they saved me. But it felt like all of LA condensed into a single night.
Is that experience not a little bit exciting when you've been stuck inside for like the best part of a year? Even if it's a little crazy.
Well, that was when we were on tour.
Oh, okay, so this is a while ago.
That wasn't this trip, but
okay.
that was the trip where I just was feeling the evil. All that said, I do like it.
What is it that draws you to it on the opposing side? Just the kind of glamour and the excitement of it?
It's just nice. I think like equally being out here, it's, people don't move here to become stars or like to do anything like that. So they're like, no one gives a shit. Like you just get some much needed perspective of like, oh, the things I care about, like not everyone cares about this, which is great. But then, the flip of LA is like everyone there works in entertainment. So once you get past the glitz and glam, it's just, I have a lot of friends there. I have like a lot of people that inspire me there, because it's dense with that. It's a place that stuff can happen. So that aspect is, just exciting and fun. It's warm.
You don't have the Boston winters.
Oh, I fucking hate them. I hate winter. I've never gotten used to it. It never gets easier. I feel like I try to forget it every single year, so it's never become less shocking. I just like put it out of mind, and I'm like, what? It again? So
didn't America get hit with like a weird snowstorm this year all over though? Was it not like snowing in Texas and stuff?
Oh yeah. It was snowing in Texas.
That doesn't happen, does it? I didn't know that was a thing.
Not real. I mean, not like that. That was freakish, I would say. It's like it's not part of the grid. So their electric system is like privatized. So instead of doing what everyone else does, where other states or other parts of the grid will give people without power, it made it so Texans' electricity bills, I think some people have like $100,000 electricity bills from however long the month or like 3 weeks, and they're just like, this is the best we can do. There is no other answer.
You say 100,000?
100,000, yeah. It's crazy.
Wait, what is that just for like a house, or what are you, 100?
I think that's for a house, yeah. just some people's bills.
America's such an odd country sometimes.
It's like I mean, every time we go to Europe, I'm like, wow, we live in a goofy place. Yeah, it's a funny place.
An inspiring place though, because that's kind of what fed into the new record or the last record, sorry. Kind of still new. When was that?
Yeah.
A year ago, pretty much.
A year ago, yeah.
When you have like the whole kind of Tony Soprano thing you were speaking about as well, and the way you kind of centered yourself around that.
Yeah, totally.
It's almost like the classic kind of American mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he's sort of, and that's the thing. I feel like a lot of what makes that show, like it's after does the housing crash play into that show?
No, I think it was done like 2004, wasn't it?
Yeah,
kind of wrapped up around then.
No, what am I saying? But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the themes and like a lot of what that show covers is like transferable outside of like this guy is a wise guy, more to a general like American way of life.
I mean, it would be interesting to watch it back after the housing crisis. You probably see a lot of things in it that would.
Yeah, no, I was thinking of I just watched Breaking Bad, and that's like taking place post housing crisis, which I didn't really remember the first time I watched it.
I think because it was pretty fresh, because it only started like in the year after it, didn't it?
Yeah,
that's pretty much as it was happening.
Yeah, I just started rewatching that show too, which I don't know if I'm ready. It's emotionally taxing.
Just in terms of the journey, you kind of, well, I mean, what is it, 6 seasons or something?
It's 6 seasons. I mean, they just cover every topic that is difficult. Or, I mean, my friend was saying, they were saying it's like, there's a reason these came out once a week. You are not supposed to watch these in rapid succession because they're very intense. But that's okay, I watched the pilot again and I was like, wow, this is so much lighter than I remember it. But that show sort of ramps up really quick. Like the first season or the first episode and parts of the first season, they're like cartoonish almost, it's like caricatures of, I don't know, like what you think of like an Italian-American gangster. And then it just spirals for 5 seasons.
It's interesting what you were saying there about how they kind of cover every topic that's a difficult topic to approach in terms of American culture. Do you ever think about an album in that way? Will you ever kind of sit down and think, what do I want to cover in this? What do I want to approach and what do I want to try and talk about with my music and my art? No,
not really. I just really, and I think all of us in the band, we don't, I just don't want to try to speak to anything that I don't personally know about. And I'm not talking about, I like to, I feel like a lot of our music and like if there is any political overtone or undertone, it's like that is a facet of a personal experience that I'm reporting on. And anything outside of that feels like preaching to me. And I don't like being patronized by artists, I don't think it's effective. I don't think it's artful to just tell people what they need to think.
Yeah. Do you actually think can music be a tool for change, or is that something that just people who want it to be?
No, I definitely think so, but I think it's like I think more generally writing and a lot of political writing, it's like you have to give the listener, the reader, you can't patronize them. You have to let them come to a conclusion. So if you're someone that writes or speaks in absolutes, then you're not really allowing room. And if you're not using narrative as a way to like create something that is complex and multifaceted and good and bad, then it's just not really truthful. Or it's just, I don't know. I just think it's boring,
It's less authentic.
Yeah, and it's not, I don't know. It's also, that's just not the way things are and the way people are, I guess I'm just saying, I just try to like talk about things that have happened to me because I know how to talk about them. And if I was talking about something else, I would probably say something stupid.
Have you always written like that? When you first started off writing, were you drawn to writing about the personal experiences, or do you start by writing about broader things and then kind of figure out that you need to hone in on those specific elements of your life?
No, I mean, I think it's always just been pretty emotionally driven, So it usually comes from something doesn't happen and I go, oh, I'm going to write about that. It's just coming from a place of like, I'm feeling something. And as a result, I am now writing.
Just in notebooks and stuff.
Yeah. I'll jot. I do a lot of jotting, tidbits. And then that's the thing too. Like a lot of writing, if it's within a similar time frame, there'll be a lot of through lines just because I'm sort of thinking about the same thing or within the same, umbrella or world, and then I'll piece those together. Yeah, I've never really been one to like take on a topic. It's like, okay, I'm writing my song about XYZ. I mean, sometimes it'll happen, but it's not like the thought to doesn't come first,
You're saying you always kind of write from a place of emotion. What emotion do you find yourself writing from most often?
I think it's funny because people are like, oh, your music is so like sort of light. And I feel like there's a lot of darkness in it.
That's what the whole Loud Soft thing kind of was.
Yeah. So
the catharsis of it.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like I sort of tend to write about like some heavier things, like a lot of duality and like paradox and but then a lot of humor too. I don't know. I think the new music, it's sort of even split of a somewhat hopeful and then also just reckoning. I don't know. It's like a dizzying amount of stress. That's the thing too. It's hard to like comment on that stuff because a lot of it is you don't really get to choose how your music makes people feel. So like people are like, your music makes me happy, and I'm like, okay. Or people are like, you have happy music, and I'm like, you're ultimately the person who decides. In a way,
Are you writing more on piano now?
Not.
Or have you come back to guitar?
Some, but yeah, the thing we just recorded, I definitely kind of fell back in love with guitar. But I played today. I'm trying to start again. It's sort of a breaking a seal kind of thing for me. But that being said, there's a lot of keyboard and synths and whatnot on the new thing.
Are they occupying a different role if they weren't driving the writing process as much this time around?
Yeah, definitely. It's more just, well, I mean, a lot of them are leads, so they're still taking the place of what might have in the past been a guitar. And then on one of them, we use a sub synth bass, and the bass is sort of like a accompaniment. And the synth is the low end of the track. So that was sort of a change up for us. But I don't know. I mean, we've sort of embraced using drum pads, synths, sub basses, and whatever else to sort of build a song out. And in a lot of ways, I think we're trying to get away from guitar-based drums,
It's the thing with time as well, though, isn't it? It's like as you progress, you start to gather more tools, and then you can kind of... It's a different thing once you've finished... It's a different thing once you've finished exploring them. It's a different thing once you finish that initial exploration of the new instrument.
Yeah.
And you can kind of bring it in and occupy it in a different way.
Definitely. And that's the thing. I mean, when you don't really know what you're doing with something, there's so much discovery that happens, and it keeps it exciting because things happen and you don't know how or why. And when you start, if you don't really know how to play your instrument that well yet, then you have that excitement, and as you go along, you have to find new ways to sort of push yourself out and get yourself in that place again of like feeling like I don't know what I'm doing.
Where are you finding it lately?
I've been trying to sing a lot more because I just find that's the thing I will do last. And it's always, I mean, I don't know, singing has always, I love singing, but it's mildly embarrassing because it's so much more like intimate in this way than strumming a guitar, like if you're sitting around with friends and then someone just starts singing, that would be different than if someone just starts like tapping a beat. So yeah, I just want to lean into that more. And I don't know, voices are just wild. How connected they are to like how you're feeling, and I don't know, they're just tell you a lot, I think,
in terms of maybe things you're feeling that you didn't realize.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it tells people how to feel about what you're saying or singing. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's like, have you ever seen that guy from Eamon Dune sing?
No.
Which this was a very simple thing that sort of blew my mind. But his last record is just like so emotive. And then I watched a live video and it's like, oh, this part sounds like he's going to cry. He literally looks like he's about to cry. Because of that's changing his voice. Or like, this is the happy part and he looks so happy. And now that's changed. You know, it's just like, it's super simple. I was like, oh, if you change your face or if you emote while you are singing, then the noise that's coming out of you will be drastically different and also tell people how to feel. And I was just like, pfft. But that's probably really obvious to a lot of people. But to me, I was just like, wow.
Do you want to tell people how to feel in that way, though?
Well,
because there's a line where you don't want to push it too much.
It's more just, I guess it's like, it's a cue and it's more of like expressing what you want to express, I guess. You know what I mean? Or I guess communicating that effectively.
Not being misinterpreted.
Yeah.
How has the way you communicate through your music kind of changed over the course of the record? In terms of the way you convey that and the message of what you want to say.
I feel like they've sort of gotten a little more straightforward. Yeah, maybe a little less veiled. But then I don't know. I mean, I don't have a grasp of that until the record's done. I'm sort of looking at it. Yeah, I don't really know. That's the thing too. I don't think about our records after they come out really. I'm just like, well, that is dead to me now. And then I'm focused on what we're doing next.
When do you take stock then?
Yeah, I think when we decide it's actually done, that's when I'm sort of, I don't know. I mean, but then that's the thing. Like, I had to listen to those songs. I just never would listen to those songs for no reason, because you just listen to them so many goddamn times. But we're adding our songs to this like library thing right now, and I had to listen to all the songs to figure out the keys for everything. And there were moments where I was like, oh, that's actually all right. You know, where I'm like, good job, 19-year-old Brandon. So that was kind of nice. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing too. It's just like, I think a lot of people, they just sort of always want to focus on what they're excited about at the moment. I mean, we started the band when we were 17 and put out our first record when we were like 17 or 18, I think. Or I think I was 17 or maybe even 16. No, I wasn't 16. 2013. I was 18. But so much, like that's 7 years and 7 very formative years that you're just like such a different person by the end of that.
Especially when it's 18 to 25, like.
Yeah, totally.
It's a big period of transition.
Yeah, exactly. So there is this aspect of I'm just like, oh, that's what I did. Or I don't know. I don't like go. But one thing I do think is interesting is a lot of teenagers recently have been like really caught up on Gawk, our second album. And it makes a lot of sense to me because I wrote that fresh out of high school, and it just feels like I wrote it mostly when I was a teenager, and it came out when I was a teenager, and I just feel like it makes sense that teenagers identify with that, you know? Because that's where everything we were feeling was coming from, and that's all that energy. But it's funny because it just sort of has seen this like second wave of new teens getting into it.
I mean, not many artists probably get that opportunity. Like, how many artists will put out their first record when they're 17? There's a very small section of artists that's able to capture that moment as it is at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the average age? Probably like 23 or something, 25 people put out their first record?
Well, it's like, it's just changed so much too, because we put that record out and then sort of toured on the DIY level for 2 years, and it just slowly built a following, and then grew and grew and grew, and then became this thing. And then the same thing happened with Gawk. And now it's like either people wait and they wait and they wait and they're a fully formed, fully matured band, and then they drop their first record, or people drop their first thing, nothing happens, and then they don't have a career, or they drop it and it explodes, and then they're just like
not ready,
thrown into this thing of like, okay, you need to make a record. Okay, you need to tour for 15 months. Just all this stuff, and it's weird because I think the way we came up, I don't really know. I mean, I definitely believe in like slow and low, but just a lot of things have changed that sort of make that harder to do, it feels like, even in terms of housing in the States and like the way cities have changed. There's not really the same infrastructure in place that's like, oh yeah, there's DIY venues in every city, or I don't know, just like the cost of living has changed what's there. But yeah, I don't know. It's funny, and I'm just glad it happened the way it did, because I think if we did have all of this vast success, I think we just would not have handled it very well, because we were literal children.
It's almost impossible to navigate. I mean, child stars are the example of that.
Yeah. Oh man. But it's also, I mean, I've seen it happen with, I mean, even your early 20s, I've definitely seen artists where I'm like, oh, you're on the ride right now. Like it either breaks them or at least for a year, or I don't know. It just like, it can get to you. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. We've just been lucky where it's been slow enough where it's like, okay, this is how you tour for 2 months straight without losing your mind. It's how you do an entire record cycle without losing your mind. Like,
I mean, have you always managed to steer quite clear of that, or have there been times where you've kind of skirted close to it?
Oh yeah, there's been some skirting. There's been some definite skirting. I mean, that's the thing too. You sort of go along, you go, wow, I'm so burnt, and sort of have to adjust accordingly so you can keep doing it. Yeah, the Smell Smoke, by the end of that touring cycle, we were just kind of shelled.
It's a very heavy record too, like topically.
Yeah, I mean, it was heavy. It was weird doing press sometimes. Like I felt like a lot of journalists were really cool about everything and would sort of debrief with me before we talk about the record. And then some would just ask some like shockingly blunt questions. And I'd just be like, God, I don't know you.
There's a real lack of empathy in a lot of music journalism. Like they wouldn't put themselves in the person's shoes and think, how would I react if someone asked me this on a camera or whatever?
Yeah. Well, it's tricky too when you're writing from a place that is like personal and true, and I understand the need to like form a narrative around something, to have it be an article or a piece of writing, or a narrative, which is what journalists do. But at the same time, it does feel like there's this like pornographic, or what I call it, suffer porn, where it's just basically you have to justify everything you made with like the terrible hardship that you went through to make it, which I don't know, I think it's just kind of bullshit. And it's just, I felt really conflicted with that album, because I was like, this is true, like this happened, this is like my life, and this is where I'm writing from. But at the same time, like, I'm definitely not the kind of person that would just divulge this to strangers. But I also don't want to seem like I'm speaking in more general terms, or terms that don't apply to who I am. So it's just tricky. But I think that's like the tricky thing of being in the public eye in any capacity.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing to someone the other week. We were talking about how it's a very different thing discussing topics that are quite close to you in music than in a conversation, especially a recorded one. Because, I mean, when you're putting in your music, you get the time to kind of labor over it and put a lot of thought into, I'm saying this exactly how I want to say, I'm revealing exactly as much as I want to reveal. But when you're in that spontaneous moment in the middle of a chat, there's none of that kind of forward thought, because you have to say it very quickly. You don't get the time to probably think it through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when you're talking, it's easier to accidentally fall into speaking in declaratives of like, this is about this is how I feel about this, which I don't really like to do in my music, or like a certain amount of ambiguity or paradox, or like room for more than one possibility is important for me. And sometimes if people have made up their mind of like, oh, so this is about this, so talk about that, then you're just like, okay, I'm talking about it, instead of like, no, it's not. You know what I mean? So you can sort of get you can get boxed in a way, which is fine. I mean, it's not like, I'm happy to do interviews. I kind of like doing it more now than I ever have. But yeah, I kind of just stopped sweating them too.
Like what we were saying there as well about how it's a different thing, speaking about it in an interview setting, because you communicate your feelings in your music in a way that you feel comfortable with. Does that impact the way that you would maybe express yourself with your music? Not even necessarily just in an interview, but in a conversation at large. Does it make it easier to talk about certain things if you tackle them in that domain first?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think for me at least, it's like you're just expressing or just working through things that are maybe challenging. I mean, I feel about our shows, like they're very lighthearted. They're sort of these big celebrations. So it's like taking on a lot of darkness, but sort of celebrating all of it and not letting it be a heavy thing, which makes it feel lighter. To me, I don't know. I think just being involved in that world, it's a lot of people trying to communicate and express things, so to a certain degree, it's just exposure therapy where you get better at that as you go along and you see yourself do it and you see other people do it.
That's another phrase I like, exposure therapy.
Yeah.
I guess that's what catharsis is, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Do you remember the first time you discovered how cathartic music could be?
Yes. Well, I was a ska kid.
Nice.
Yeah, I was a little ska nerd. It was great. It also was great. I mean, it was great because it's like, it is so unabashedly uncool that it's just kind of about having fun. There's no veneer of like everyone's in checkered fedoras, So you aren't insecure about anything. So you go to a ska show when you're 13, you're like the most insecure person in the world. And it's like, oh, let's all skank. And then you do it and you're like, this is awesome. Yeah, I don't know. It was formative because it was so positive and so not this cerebral cool guy thing. And you're just like, I'm having fun and I don't care. And then you have that and you can bring that to other things. And I think, I don't know, in a sense, like when people are just reacting, like performances, I feel like everyone responds to when someone is literally just reacting to themselves, and like going all the way with that, because it's intense and like you can't fake it. I mean, you can fake it, but I think that shit smells.
It's interesting that the way, you discovered that music was cathartic through someone else's music before you discovered it in your own. By going to those people's shows and kind of uncovering it in that way. Was it a different feeling when you wrote something that was cathartic for the first time, or were you tapping into the same thing?
I think it was definitely different. I got the same kind of catharsis playing shows, or it was, it was what my reference point was for what I wanted to happen when we started playing shows. But I think, writing has always been more, I think live it's like just writing all this energy and it's exuberant and like exciting and I don't know, it's just adrenaline. And writing is, for me, it's just sort of, I think when it works well, I sort of just shut my higher brain off and let myself go, but in a lot more subdued way.
I guess it goes back to what we were saying about exploration earlier on as well. Like that's
yeah,
feeling
definitely.
it as well.
Or, it's also just, for me, it's like, it's a lot about just shutting off a lot of noise and voices, in your head and kind of just letting yourself be honest, which is challenging. Or, I mean, it's like you have to give yourself enough trust that you could potentially make something that sucks. There has to be, if you're exploring and you're trying things, you have to just turn that voice off, be uncritical enough to make something that could be potentially exciting, which by the same card could also be shit.
Yeah. And they often say that it's more important to be able to express ideas, whether they're good or bad in a band, than it is to just have the confidence to express good ones, if that makes sense. It's about having a freedom to say anything, no matter whether it's going to fall into, either side of the quality line.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I mean, I'm sort of the mind that like I'll have 20 kind of terrible ideas, and then there's one that I'm like, oh, yep, that's the one, Sort of like letting yourself get them all out and then parsing through them to figure out which is worthwhile. But I also get a lot of that from Zach and Drew because, a lot of it is based on their reaction to things.
Are you watching them quite closely when you play it for the first time?
I can just like tell when it's something they're feeling and they're into just on how they're reacting and how they're playing and whatnot.
Well, you were saying a few moments ago as well about how, songwriting, when you're writing, it's a way for you to kind of clear some of the noise out of your head and get rid of the voices and just focus in on one thing. Is there anywhere else in your life you can get that isn't music? That kind of ability just to move everything aside?
I mean, I was foraging a lot last year. Mushroom foraging.
What kind of mushrooms?
Not psychedelic. Those ones are hard to find.
Not in Scotland.
Well, there's a lot of things that look like psychedelic mushrooms that are in fact poisonous. But I didn't know this when I started, but people travel from all over the world to come foraging here because of it's like some of the best conditions for mushrooms to grow. So yeah, all kinds. But yeah, just come home with a giant basket of mushrooms every day, and that would be dinner. It's nice. But yeah, it's this thing where you're just hyper focused and searching in the woods for hours, and walking and kind of not thinking about anything. So that biking in the same way, like distance biking. I do like yoga and meditation. So that's definitely, honestly, I think meditation has been massive for songwriting because it's not letting it's like shutting off the parts of your brain that are the minutia of your life, which is really helpful because it's like, I feel like social media for me, it makes you just spend so much time in other people's thoughts that it's really hard to differentiate what you are feeling and what people are telling you to feel. So it's this thing, it's like, I have to just find a way to clear that out, or I can't write at all.
Or think.
I can't. Yeah. Well, it's like you're inundated. There's just so much stimuli coming at you. It's hard to differentiate which is important and which isn't.
What techniques have you developed for doing that? Just the meditation stuff, or?
I just stopped. I try to not look at it before like noon. There was a couple times during quarantine where I just was like, I'm not doing my phone for a week, which was nice. Yeah, just like creating boundaries with that stuff. Cause it's like, it's like candy. You're just like, I'm bored. And instead of doing something, you just flip open your phone. You're like, colors.
Moving images.
Yeah.
It's getting worse as well, especially something, have you seen TikTok, the way you open that and it's just playing instantly?
Yeah. Man, but like, do you feel like, I feel like when I'm stuck in the scroll, like I feel like I black out, I'll be doing it. It'll be 30 minutes later. I'll just look up and I won't even know what I did or what I looked at. I'll just be like, I don't even know what just happened, but I don't feel good.
I don't have any of it on my phone anymore. I've got Instagram because you can only post to that through the phone.
Right.
With the notifications turned off. But yeah, I like having it on the computer and that only because you're not out of the loop.
Yeah.
But you're not on it all the time. It's a nice balance.
You can come to it. Yeah.
You're also less likely to scroll when you actually have to like open a computer, type in a tab instead of just like pushing a button, if you know what I mean.
Definitely. Well, that's the thing too. Yeah, I just started treating it like email, like all of it. Because it's all sort of, it starts band related because I manage all that stuff, but it's just like, sort of devolves into you're just on your phone all the fucking time. Yeah, it's weird. I just feel like, I grew up pre-social media sort of, which I'm hyped for, like 90s kid.
You must have been right on the cusp though.
Yeah. I think I think it really started becoming a thing. Like Facebook was a thing when I was in high school. And then people really started getting it. I think I got like an Instagram when I was like 20 or 21 or something. And then that's when it sort of became, it just changed. I always think it must be really strange to be like a kid right now with social media. We toured with this older band. They had kids, and I was like, what's up with your kids? And they're like talking about social media, and they're like, they're scared to do things because they're surveilled by their peers constantly. And if they look dumb, it's captured forever. And I'm just like, that's terrible. Like, becoming an adult is literally doing stupid shit and learning from it until you're hopefully doing a little, you know what I mean? It's just like kids should be able to act a fool.
Well, I had it all the way through high school. It was there from when I was like 12 or whatever.
That's crazy.
I don't think it really stopped me doing stupid shit though.
Yeah. I mean, you just have an archive of all of your stupid shit.
Yeah. It is it's crazy to think that this is what I always say, is that like 7 years ago or whatever, maybe even 6, it wasn't really a thing. Like, not in the way that it is now when everyone's on their phone. It's such a recent thing. That's what we kind of don't think about.
Yeah, totally. It's just, and that's the thing. I think just with quarantine, everyone being home, it can become, there's limits in your day to day if you're not trapped in your house all the time, so where you're just like, it's not an option to be in that world all the time. But at home, it's like there's no limit, so it's just creating one, I guess.
That's kind of what Out of It's about on the last record. Trying to find a moment where you can kind of pause and remove yourself from the chaos and all the motion and all the craziness that's going on all the time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, just like, finding some quiet or creating some quiet for yourself. I think this year has been a crash course in figuring that out.
I think we haven't had any option but to either do that or you go crazy.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've had bouts of sober 30 days, drunk 7 days. Like, yeah, there's been a number of healthy habits and then not so healthy habits that have. But I think everyone, like, when this all started, did you have this like, there's like summer camp, like this will be over soon, so like we'll just make soup and get drunk for the 2 weeks while COVID lasts.
I kind of did a bit of both. I felt like I worked a lot on this 9 till 5. Nice. And then we'll get drunk 5 till 12.
Yeah, there you go.
So I got the balance.
Would you get drunk with the bands?
No, I said I got the balance.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
When did that start for you though? When did you kind of get that summer camp feeling start to fade and the idea set in that, oh no, this is going to be for a little while?
Oh man. Well, I mean, that maybe lasted a month. I mean, because then the heaviness of just everything that has happened in the States sort of set in. And you see, one, like the scope of the crisis, and two, how ineffectively our government has dealt with it. And I mean, I think our system has been tested in so many ways and failed in so many ways. And it's just so plain to see for so many people. I think people that maybe
will the system ever change?
I don't know. that'd be tight. I don't know. We'll see. It's just, I mean, it's a little less chaotic. It's not like, what did the idiot say today?
Where's he gone?
Mar-a-Lago, baby.
Where's that?
He's down in Florida.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I think he just had he had a little speech and meeting the other day, but I love to, like, his farewell speech, he just goes, have a nice life. It's just, yeah.
He is a fascinating guy. Like, horrible guy, but he's going to be an interesting one to look back in, 20 years or whatever, when they're looking back at history and trying to unpack what happened here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, just the idiosyncrasies of who he is have to come into play in a big way. Like, you see someone like that and you go, how did you become who you are? I think it'll be a point of interest, definitely. I think it already is. Like, I think his sister or his niece, somebody in his family just wrote a book about him that they were trying to stop from getting published. But it was basically sort of a look inside the psyche of Donald Trump and how he became who he is. But yeah, woo.
Can you see that in your records too? Like when you look back, we were saying that you've written them, you started writing records at like 17, now you're 25. When you look at the writing on each album, can you see a progression of you as a person and you changing over the course of those albums through the writing itself?
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. I mean, I think just by nature of your age, your environment, your life experience up until that point, it's bound to change. And I think that's why, like a record like Gawk is made by a teenager for teenagers, and now teenagers like it. And, hopefully the ones we make when we're older reflect that age. But I mean, I also just think, I just feel like I know what I'm doing a bit more, which is nice. I mean, yeah, I would hope so. If it didn't change, I think it would be hard to want to keep making stuff. Or I've always just kind of felt like if it feels new to us, then it's new, Like it doesn't need to be like, there's never been a song like this. Or it's more just like, we've never made a song like this or about this or writing like this. And that's exciting enough to want to do it.